brother's soul is mine. You will be next.
Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss the latest by the French husband and wife directing team Hélène Cattet and Bruno Forzani. I really went Italian with that last part. It's their film Reflection in a Dead Diamond, currently streaming on Shudder. Known for their striking visual storytelling style, this time they tackle the Euro spy thriller, those classic films from the 60s and 70s. I'll ask Matt if it's a wonderful mad mashup of visuals and narrative or an unintelligible mess. Plus, I'm going to share my thoughts on the proposed Netflix-Warner Brothers merger. And there's also news about a certain almost impossible to find 4K Steelbook that I ran across, and I'm going to share with you all that and more on this episode of The First Run. Matt, let's start everything off, though, with a very short clip. It's short. A reflection in a dead diamond.
Je m'excuse, monsieur, mais ce sera le dernier. La réception a bloqué votre compte.
Dis-leur de prendre rendez-vous avec les bijoutiers. Je vais les payer en diamants.
So basically, guy wants a drink. Hotel's like, you're out of credit, bro. We need some cash. And he says, well, I got diamonds I can give you.
Yeah, right.
That's that clip. That's for you right there, Matt. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've ever been more excited to not have to answer this question and to pass it on to you. Though I guess there's a really easy out if you want to take it.
Yeah.
What is Reflection in a Dead Diamond all about?
So I'm going to read the description from the first line of the Wikipedia, okay? So,
Coward.
An homage to the 1960 Euro spy films, it follows Jean Dimon, a septuagenarian retired spy living in Côte d'Azur, who fears his former enemies are back for a final fight when his intriguing next-door neighbor mysteriously disappears. That description, while technically correct, does not really get at the experience that this movie is.
Yeah, I may have been a little too excited about the trailer watching this thing. Now, I'm not saying I didn't like it, but the way the trailer brought it to me is that it's just an insane, over-the-top, gory action film.
Right.
And that's not really this at all. For me, Matt, it's more kind of like a psychedelic kaleidoscope, kinetic kind of dream where we mesh in the past and the present, possibly the future, along with reality and fantasy, and everything kind of folding in on itself as well. And I don't know, Matt, if at times it's just a little too focused on being obtuse. Mm-hmm. Their whole thing is that they're very known for their visual storytelling. It's more about an experience than it is watching a traditional narrative feature. Mm-hmm. Now, I confess, I've not seen either of Cattet's or Forzani's films previous. I'm interested in seeing what else they've done, but I've also read that this is their most kind of straightforward and accessible film to date, which is something that terrifies me. But still, I don't know, Matt, what do you think about it? Did you, because in the end I enjoyed it, but it's one of those films I think you just kind of have to submit to.
Yeah, it's... And I don't mean this as dismissively as it's going to come out, but I don't know how any better way to say it. It's very French. It is, if you've watched any Gaspar Noé films or any of the French New Wave, it's really more around feeling and imagery. And as Chris said, it is very psychedelic. I would have described it as a fever dream, a nightmare, where you really got to take it on the merits of what is being presented to you in the moment. And it's kind of like reading like William S. Burroughs when he was really into acid and heroin, because it doesn't, if you read those books from that time, they make no sense. You basically just have to read like little snippets of visual dialogue, and that's basically what this is. At some point, this film is only 87 minutes long, and I'm like, God, this film is still going on? Like, what is even happening here? Like, I just was trying to let this wash over me, but as a structured narrative piece of filmmaking, not great. As a series of images and emotional connection, and I've seen better from, I mean, even like the aforementioned No, what's the one where the guy dies and you like play his whole life as a ghost kind of thing into the void, right? Or or even Climax. I think those are much better films at this type of storytelling because at least they're semi-coherent of what's going on. This, I have no idea what the fuck's going on in like most of this film.
Yeah, I don't know how interested they are in that either. For me, it was like watching an international film with no subtitles.
Right.
You have to piece it together as you go and kind of figure out what's happening. And even then, they keep things very ambiguous because I don't think they want you to latch on to any kind of comprehensive, cohesive narrative like it's a life preserver. They don't want you to do that. They want you basically just to be, just caught in this rapid and just brought along for this experience for you to be, I don't even know what, I'm not sure what like reaction they want to elicit from you as a viewer outside of just watch this crazy shit.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's also part of why I don't find it completely successful, right? Is because they're not very successful in telling me, should I hate this guy? Should I be disgusted with him? Should I be rooting for him? Should I be what should I be feeling when these women get killed or when this woman goes on this bloody rampage of revenge, right? Should I be cheering her on? Is she the bad guy? Like, none of that stuff is really ever filled in, right? You know that he's not a good guy, theoretically, even if he is the guy he says he is. I don't know. It's kind of hard to connect to. What's interesting to me is that on Letterboxd, all the fart sniffers are giving this thing like 4.5 stars, right? I mean, they love it, and I feel like people are going to tell me that I just don't get it, man. But that's okay. Maybe I don't get it, and I think that's a failing of the film, because I think we've seen enough films where we can get it most of the time, right, Chris? We're not out of touch.
I don't know about you. Yeah, no, I agree. I think one thing I keep kind of going back and forth on, too, is are we trying to subvert or honor or mock our expectations of the spy film, particularly that Euro spy genre of the 60s? Or are we just focusing on basically just blowing up the entire concept of the reliable or even unreliable narrator? I'm not sure. But, it's a struggle with this film. I'm sitting on a B right now just because as a failed art student, I love kind of stuff that challenges me and makes me kind of like, what the hell? Right. I always say, like, art is supposed to evoke an emotion, even if it's confusion and anger or disappointment or whatever. It's still something. And I think there is enough visual engagement on this with a soundtrack that kind of harkens back to that same time period as well. But I don't know, it's just crazy. And there's something about it that I respect and I enjoy.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a C. And I respect that they're trying to do something. And I agree that art should make you feel an emotion, right? Even if that's anger or disgust. There are plenty of films that we've watched for this show that have made me angry. So I guess that is something that, you can say is art is successful. I don't know if confusion is probably the least of those emotions that you should be feeling, because that kind of by its very nature puts a wall between you and the viewer. And I just don't know if that is successful for me. I respect the effort, but I just did not connect with this in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, if it's like just a failure of storytelling, which I don't think is the case here. Like, I just rewatched, I've been slowly going through just as a warm blanket, the Roger Moore James Bond films as a way to kind of escape from everything, right? And I just finished Octopussy. And that film is like structurally, narratively, it's a mess. Right. There's a lot of things that don't make sense in it. Like, I love the fact too that 009 in the beginning of that film gets killed wearing like full clown outfit, like clown makeup, everything. He's dressed up like a clown and they find his body, right? It doesn't occur to until the last 40 minutes that maybe we should go investigate the circus in the town that he was killed in.
Right.
So and there's a lot of things in that film that just narratively don't make a lot of sense. That just is a failure of storytelling.
Right.
This, I think, is more of a bold, let's see what we can get away with, or let's see what we can do with this. So I just admire the brashness of it. Another one of their prior films to this is called Let Corpses Tan, Matt. And it's basically about a gang of thieves who, after stealing 550 pounds of gold, arrive at the home of an artist who's caught in a love triangle. The situation quickly escalates into a day-long gunfight between police and robbers. And it's supposed to be just as visually weird, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to see if this is on Shudder or someplace else, too, because I would like to check that out. I'm intrigued. I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we said, Reflection on a Dead Diamond is currently streaming on Shudder. If you could check that out right now, you're welcome to. We'd love to hear from you as well. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, a couple things I wanted to talk about. Oh, let me ask you. I didn't check in with you. Did you get to see Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair this weekend?
I didn't. It didn't work out. I had to take my daughter and her friends to go see Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And then we took the opportunity as the wife was like, oh, well, while they're doing stuff, let's go out and do stuff. So that kind of ate up my time and just didn't work out, unfortunately, to commit 4.5 hours to a film.
It's still out there. I mean, it's going to be out for another week, too. So I don't know if you want to try. I'll sit on my thoughts on it till next week, just in case.
So I do have Monday off coming up. So if it's still there this Monday or this weekend, maybe I'll try and go check it out.
There's that, too. And also, though I don't think I have it on the calendar, the reboot or the latest reincarnation of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series actually will be out this weekend, too.
Mm-hmm.
Though I think what we have on the calendar right now, well, we'll get, I don't want to spoil it. You got to wait for the end of the show, right? To find out what we'll be talking about next week. I don't want to steal Matt's thunder. All right, I'll sit on that. One other thing, too, I want to talk about is, so Tom Savini, back in 1990, directed a remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty good. It's mostly known for its gore effects. And it was released in a 4K Steelbook a couple months ago. And it includes the unedited version of the film, because his version of it actually had a lot more gore, violence, a lot of other gross stuff in it. And that film it's never been released. I don't know if it's been released on physical media. So it's available now in this 4K Steelbook, but you can't find it anywhere. I've been looking for it. I asked Shelby to order it for me. He couldn't get it down at Viper Video. So, and then I was on Reddit, and I trolled there's a couple physical media Reddits that I follow. And eBay, there is a store called Please Rewind. It's called Please Rewind. I think the full link is like ebay.com/str/please rewind us. It is Sony's eBay store. It's actually the studio store. And they've been, I don't know if I'd say surreptitiously, but they've been restocking this on their site, like 10, 15 copies at a time. I don't know if it's because there's a delay in production. This is all they can get every time. I do kind of think it sucks because it cuts out these third-party retailers like Viper Video and Diabolic and Grindhouse. But you can get it. So I bought it, and it came today. So I'm very excited to check it out at some point. Again, I'm not a fan of Steelbooks, but there are some stuff that just, I don't know if it's ever going to get a regular release independent of that GD Steelbook. I don't know what it is, but I'm just telling you, there's stuff on there. Like, I think the Lawrence of Arabia, the Steelbook, that's not nobody can't find anywhere. They had like 15 copies of it on there. I didn't buy it, but I mean, it's still. So check out that store. It's Please Rewind on eBay. It's Sony's store, and they've been slowly. I think they had that Master and Commander 4K Steelbook on there too a little while back. So you just got to monitor it, and they just will keep reposting stuff. Another thing too, did you know that Panos Cosmatos has a new film he's working on?
Okay.
And did I not grab the title of it? Wow, that's just dumb. But his latest film, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm about to talk about in a minute with the Netflix Warner Brothers meeting, but Flesh of the Gods stars Oscar Isaac, Kristen Stewart, and Elizabeth Olsen. It's a vampire thriller horror fantasy film set in 1980s Los Angeles. The story centers on Raoul, played by Isaac, and Alex, played by Stuart, a married couple who leave their luxury condo each night to explore the city's vibrant underworld, encountering a mysterious figure, played by Olsen, and her group, leading them into a world of hedonism, thrills, and violence. And he can't get the money for this thing.
Wow.
It needs to be financed. This was announced last year, and they're still looking for financing, which blows my mind. I mean, supposedly the script is supposed to be fantastic. It's supposed to have wide appeal, which Cosmatos' films, they're a little niche, I think, at times.
Right.
But this one is supposed to be just, I don't know, just a great horror thriller, 1980s LA vampire movie. Please, come on. But they can't seem to get the financing. And I don't understand why. But what can happen, and we'll close out with this, is I actually wrote this out ahead of time. I sent it over to Matt to review because he's a much better writer than me. Say, Matt, give me some edits. He looked at it and says, I don't have time for this. He did the classic, I ain't reading all that. I'm sorry to hear that, but good for you.
TLDR.
But I want to share a few thoughts I have about the Netflix Warner Brothers merger.
Okay.
So if you haven't heard, Netflix has made an offer to purchase Warner Brothers. Basically the film division, right? The TV stuff, CNN, Discovery, etc. That's all going to be spun off. They've offered $83 billion to buy Warner Brothers. And my major concern with this, so I have there's a few impacts we're going to talk about. The first one being the erosion of the theatrical experience. There's also going to be the pressures on labor, including crew and talent, and even, I think, potentially global economic concerns if this were to go through. But we'll talk about first the impact, which I think will lead potentially to the death of the theatrical window eventually, maybe years down the road. But Netflix has already stated that they will shorten the window even further, eliminating it for those, I think, small adult dramas. Right, I think they'd focus on the big films, but you get stuff like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys, stuff like that, right? That's not going to get. I don't think they're going to put a theatrical release on that stuff out. Though I think it's entirely possible they'll do a theatrical release for stuff simply as an obligation to meet awards requirements. But their main focus, their main concern, Matt, their number one goal is whatever they produce, even with the Warner Brothers shield in front of it, will be to serve streaming first. Mm-hmm. Netflix has no incentive outside of trying to beef up their bona fides in regards to award season to maintain the theatrical experience. Next up, I think, is physical media. Remember a few weeks ago when we talked about why Blu-ray had won over HD DVD? Because Warner Brothers owns one of the largest film and television libraries on the planet. Certainly the largest in the United States. Now, granted, they're not entirely clean on this, and I'm talking about HBO Max, which is, with Warner Brothers, because remember they did that edit on the French Connection on Max. You can't stream the original unedited version of the French Connection. There's an inappropriate scene where Gene Hackman's character, Popeye, drops the N-word, and they basically just cut the scene, like a split second of him saying it out. It's a weird interchange he has with Roy Schneider, too, because it seems to kind of just jump. You have to own it on physical media for that. But Netflix, their history of releasing physical media is anemic at best. And again, they have no incentive to release content on physical media. And we're already dealing with Warner Archive, about 4 or 5 years ago, was it? Abandoning their online storefront. Now they just have like a page on Amazon. So it's not just bad, I think, for people like me, and to a smaller extent, Matt, who are collectors. It's bad for film preservation. I think it's bad for education. And it's bad for the culture in general. I mean, what are the odds now that we're going to see Ken Russell's The Devils ever be released on physical media? All you can see now, occasionally it'll show up on the Criterion channel, and even then it's still just the edited version. Next up, it's Netflix's production standards. Or as I like to call it, the Netflixification of everything. They clearly have a specific house style. If you've ever watched any of their original content, visually, narratively, structurally, it all seems to kind of follow the same thing because, again, they're creating stuff for streaming and for their algorithms. You'll notice how everything kind of looks flat on a Netflix original. From the lighting to the color grading, everything looks kind of flat. Everything looks the same. There's a bunch of videos like on YouTube you can watch about this that are really interesting. But I think a Netflix-led Warner Brothers would likely streamline productions toward that aesthetic, Matt, for the, well, not the best, but for the most cost-effective, maybe, streaming compression and to meet those algorithms to try and get people to watch stuff. And what happened next is all movies will begin to look the same. Hell, you probably have already seen that. A lot of stuff tend to look the same right now, unfortunately. Watch something from like the 70s, the heyday of the auteur era, the director-controlled era, right? And watch stuff from today. Their movies and series are designed primarily meant to perform well on streaming, with no real concern, I think, for the cinematic experience. And then we have another impact on labor. The consequences of this that'll hit SAG-AFTRA, the writers, right, crew, everyone, I think. Labor unions have spent the past few years, Matt, fighting for fair residuals, AI protections, sustainable working conditions. Because I don't know if you know this, there's basically no residuals on streaming because the viewership of that stuff is a black box.
Right.
The consolidation would give studios even more leverage over the workers. Fewer buyers for creative labor means less bargaining power for actors, writers, and production crews. And downstream impacts would include like lower wages across the industry, fewer mid-budget films, a reduced opportunity for new people to step in. There's a bit of I don't know, parody is not the right word, but you can push back on that because it's so much easier now to make your own movie than it ever was, like when I was growing up. But also, too, a concentration of the decision-making in the hands of fewer and fewer executives and not artists. And one of the big things that's frustrating for me is I think, well, for this merger, you'd think that there'd be some kind of regulatory authority that could exist or some laws that would block something like this large merger between companies. Supposedly, one of the alleged stumbling blocks on this is Trump, who said he says, oh, this could be a problem. But that's bullshit. Do not rely on him saying that as any glimmer of hope that the government would actually do its job and block this. It's reported that this Netflix CEO, Ted Sarandos, has met with Trump prior to this announcement. So as long as Trump gets a taste, he won't stand in the way unless Paramount steps in, which has happened. They've submitted what's referred to as a hostile bid. They're willing to pay more than what Netflix is willing to pay and keep the company together as a whole. They want to buy the whole thing instead of splitting it off. And then Ellison has already said, too, supposedly to Trump, this has been reported, that if we purchase them, we will adjust CNN's coverage as needed, which is what they've already started to do with CBS and 60 Minutes. So a lot of people are saying, well, at least it's not Paramount. Well, unfortunately, that may not be the case anymore. And then people are like, well, how does Paramount have all this money? Well, they don't. Part of the money is also coming from the assistance of Jared Kushner in his fund, as well as sovereign wealth funds from Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar. We used to have laws and government entities to prevent this kind of thing. Antitrust regulators historically have blocked mergers when companies consolidated too much power, even culturally. But over the years, we've seen a decline in oversight and entertainment. Consolidation has accelerated, right? Disney bought Fox, Amazon bought MGM, Discovery bought Warner, and we had a brief window of time with Lena Khan and Gary Gensler where they were actually pushing back and stopping this stuff. But alas, that time is over, at least for now. Allowing Netflix to purchase Warner Brothers would be a disaster. Paramount would be worse.
Yeah, I guess, how would anybody... I mean, you've got two bad options. How is anybody going to stop it? Like, who could come in and... Apple?
It would be the FTC.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that.
Right.
The only option we really have is for the state attorney generals to sue. There is a law that allows them to do that, to block mergers that would be detrimental to their citizens. They were successful in this with the Simon & Schuster Penguin merger from years ago. They actually blocked that from happening. And I would think the California AG, who supposedly has eyes on running for the governor, with that constituency in Hollywood, would be all in on this. We just have to hope that the courts will be open to the arguments. But clearly, this would be detrimental. I can't see how it wouldn't be. And they'd get amicus briefs from theaters, attorneys, other content makers, all this stuff. So that's my hope. The only challenge, too, I should say, if the Netflix WB merger goes through and Warner Brothers spins off the cable TV network portion, Paramount could still come in and buy that, which includes CNN. The only thing that may stop them is that, if you recall, Warner Brothers had a bunch of mergers over the years, right? There was the AT&T one. There was it Oracle or AOL? There was, the most recent one is Discover. All of those failed. So what they would do likely is if Netflix WB goes through, is spin off the cable part and load them up with the debt. So all the debt goes on that company. And maybe Paramount won't want to jump in on that. We can only hope. I don't know. I'll just close with this. So last week on the Obit, if long-time listeners know, but if you're new to the show, and we did it this week, when anybody passes away of note, we will play a clip involving them or something they did. They could be a writer, could be a director, or could be a star. Last week, we played a clip from Brazil, which was written by Tom Stoppard. This article, somebody wrote this in the Times of London. This is just reiterating, I think for me, the power of art. Saved by Stoppard. Sir, in 1993, my wife and I went to see the first production of Arcadia by Tom Stoppard. In the interval, I experienced a Damascene conversion. As a clinical scientist, I was trying to understand the enigma of the behavior of breast cancer. The assumption being that it grew in a linear trajectory, spitting off metastases on its way. In the first act of Arcadia, Thomasina asked her tutor, Septimus, if there's an equation for a curve like a bell, there must be an equation for one like a bluebell. And if a bluebell, why not a rose? With that, Stoppard explains chaos theory, which better explains the behavior of breast cancer. At the point of diagnosis, the cancer must have already scattered cancer cells into the circulation that nest latent in distant organs. The consequence of that hypothesis was the birth of the adjuvant systemic chemotherapy, and rapidly we saw a striking fall of the curve that illustrated patient survival. Stoppard never learned how many lives he saved by writing Arcadia. Think about that. This doctor goes to see this play, and it gives him a moment of clarity where he realizes, no, wait, I'm thinking about this all wrong. And now we're able to diagnose and save people's lives just through the power and the inspiration of art. And the further just commodification of all of this stuff. CEOs and executives who desperately hate artists because they can't do it. That's why they've all in on the AI bullshit as well. Are in control of all of this. And I fear and I weep for the future, Matt, and what it may be or not be at this point. I'm done. I've complained enough.
It's a bit of a downer.
Yeah. What do you think, folks? Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, what's coming up next week on the big show? Make me happy in some ways.
Well, we're going to check out the latest from Rian Johnson, Knives Out 3.
Wake Up, Dead Man.
Wake Up, Dead Man on Netflix. We're going to check it out.
I saw it in the theater, though. I was
You
one of
did?
the lucky few that it's playing in my area. I got to see it.
Nice.
Yeah, I may try and check out that Silent Night, Deadly Night, too. I'll report back on that if I get a chance to. And there's still a bunch of stuff. I got to add stuff, too, to the to-be watch list, because there's been a lot of stuff that's come out we haven't had a chance to see that I hear really good things about. And once, the award ceremony start happening, we'll start trying to load up some of that stuff, too, so we can check it out. But in the meantime, you can check us out The First Run. How many times can I say check it out? TheFirstRun.com. You can have archives of all the old shows. The report card, there's a little player there as well. Just hit play and it'll start cycling through episodes. Find us on YouTube and Instagram and Blue Sky. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. Head over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a review. It'll help other people find the show as well. And I think, Matt, that's that. So we're going to go ahead, take an extended... Did you want to add anything to what I said? Or are you good? I feel like I apologize.
No, I mean, it's not something I had heard about it, but I mean, I think your concerns are valid. I mean, we were quickly, not even quickly, we've returned to the era of the robber barons, and we're in like a new digital gilded age, right? Mm. So, I mean, the only way we got out of it last time was, a massive decades-long crippling depression and a war, right? That's really the only way we got out of it. Yeah. The problem with that last piece is that now we have ways to glass the planet. So I guess that's something we're not going to be able to count on to get us out of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I used to listen to One Track Lover, I think, for a little bit.
I'll put some sounds on. There's a bad atmosphere in here.
It always makes me feel bad.
Why won't she be mine? I wish I was more attractive like Douglas. Still, one can only dream.
I'm a one-track lover, down a two-way lane.
All right, you can find it yourself. Or I'll hit us up. Feedback@thefirstrun.com. I'll send you an MP3 of it. Get the full version. It's on YouTube. All right, fine. Take care of yourselves. Love you all very much. We will see you soon. I'm very excited to talk about Knives Out. I've always liked them a little more than Matt, so I'll have to see how that goes next week. Take care of yourselves. We love you very much. We'll see you soon.
Let's go to the calendar. It's calendar time. Calendar time for Buddy.
I picked that because I thought we were going to be talking about Kill Bill.